Hi there, Laura here, the founder of Get Organized HQ, and I have a special treat for you today. I have just been to Target and they have some awesome brand new or new-ish organizing finds, and I think you all are going to love these. I'm so excited. I feel like they have totally upped their game, and they have some products that are just incredibly useful and that might even be a substitute for other products that are my faves that are harder to find. So let's go ahead and dive in. They are only $3, which is great. They're perfectly square, which I love, and they're stackable. However, the one main reason why I might not get them is I'm guessing I can never buy them again. They're very seasonal and they're very striking in color, so they won't blend as well with other things, but very nice and only $3. So here's the fridge and pantry bins that you can buy just by themselves. This one is $7 at my Target. There's different depths. This one's pretty deep. I personally don't use a lot of these bins in my fridge because I find that I'm changing what I have all the time and it's just not all that helpful. They do have these produce things, which I do like these because I hate the clamshells that produce comes in. So these are kind of nice. Target's Bright Room line, I love. These are fridge and pantry bins, but of course you could repurpose it and use them for different things. I love how these are wide and then two of them fit together to be the same width as the wider ones. These canisters are $25. Seems like a pretty good deal, but I would do the home edit ones from Walmart over these, and I think they'd be a pretty similar price. So I think these are really new. I haven't seen these in a while. They're very similar to the white ones that I showed you that are like the IKEA Kuggis Dupe, except that they are completely clear and they do have a lid. I've never seen anything like this that's clear with this type of lid really anywhere. So this is very unique. It looks like, at least here, it looks like they don't have as many sizes as they have in the white. They have the size A. I love how they've given them letters so you kind of know. They have the size A, the size B, which is the longer. They also, I'm not seeing a size C, but what I'm wondering is if there really is a size C and my Target just doesn't have it because it looks like there's a hole for where I would put the C. So my guess is that they just don't have it in stock. This is the size D, and these are exactly like the white ones. And they also have a size E. I'm trying to see. They have this in the white as well, and this one's real big. Look how big this is. I don't actually love this one being this size. It's just too clunky. It's just not easy to slide in and out, so I probably wouldn't go for this size, but these are really cool. And I'm trying to compare the prices on the two. I think just like with a lot of their products, the clear acrylic is $1 more per item. So you're gonna spend a little bit more if you want the clear acrylic. Again, I'm a huge fan of the white because it hides what's inside, but that is really neat. So the first category of products that I found that I loved, I am calling these the Kuggis Bin Dupes. All right, you'll see here that they come in both clear acrylic, which is new. I have not seen any other brand offer this style of bin in clear, and they come in the solid white. Now, if you look at the shelf behind me, of course, I always get questions about hey, where are those bins from? Those are the Kuggis bins from IKEA. The deal with those, though, is that IKEA is much harder to acquire products from. They tend to, even if you go to the store in person, they tend to not always have everything in stock. It's harder to order online from them. So this is one of the closest dupes I have found, and it's available at Target, so it's going to be easier for you to actually get. Now, the first thing I want to mention is your two options of getting this in the clear acrylic or the solid white. First of all other things being equal, keep in mind that if you put the stuff in these completely clear bins, it's not super tidy in there and it's not super color coordinated, it's gonna look a little bit messier. So I might use these if I had something that I really wanted to color code, like a craft room, but I think your white solid bins are going to look tidier. So if I took the bins behind me and I put everything I had in them in the clear, I guarantee you it would look a lot messier. And so just keep that in mind. Another thing that I thought is interesting is that for pretty much many of their products where they have it in like the solid and then they have it in this clear acrylic, the clear acrylic is $1 more per bin. Now, if you were only getting 3 bins, I would spend $3 more if I really wanted the acrylic look. But if you're planning to do a whole bunch of these, then that would eventually add up and the acrylic is going to be a touch more expensive. Now, I really wanted to talk about the price difference between getting these at IKEA and getting these at Target. Unfortunately, I really think that IKEA might be discontinuing them or they just don't have a good online selection, so I really couldn't do a comparison. I think they're in the same neighborhood though if you do happen to find them in your own IKEA, and I would love for y'all in the comments, if you do find these at your IKEA, let me know and let other people know because people are looking for them and they're just really hard to find. The good news is Target is not hard to find. You can go to your local Target, they'll probably have them, and it's very easy to order from Target online. They often have free shipping, so you can just go right to the link and you will be able to order whatever of these you want, which I love, provided that you are in the US. If you're not, go ahead and leave me a comment if you guys have found something like this in other countries, or if you, I don't know if you can order from Target in other countries. These are a fairly direct dupe for the bins behind me. So this size, the large size I'm calling it, the medium size, and I call this like it's perfect for paper, like a regular size sheet of paper fits in it and it's fairly thin. These are very neck and neck, like they're very similar in size. Where we get a little bit different is the smaller ones. We still have where 2 of them fit side by side perfectly here on this bin, which is super duper important to me. I hate it when things don't line up. So that's a pro. What I would call a slight con is these are actually a little bit taller than the IKEA version. The IKEA version is thinner and actually they're all the height of this, and these are a little taller. I don't know if that's necessarily bad or good. It's just something to note that is a difference. Also, in the version from Target, which is their Bright Room line, they have an additional size that IKEA never had. I'm gonna call that a pretty big plus because, you know, it's always nice to have more options, and this size is the exact same depth, so you can stack it pretty nicely and you can put 2 side by side. So I really think that versatility is great. I could think of like rolls of vinyl, all sorts of things that are a little bit longer that would fit nicely in there. So overall, I absolutely love these. I also want to point one other thing out. For some reason, and I'm not 100% sure why this is, it's a little bit trickier to put your lid on. So when I go to put this lid on, I have to work with it a little bit more to get the lid in place. And I think that's because this plastic is not super duper. You can see how I can squeeze it. It's pretty sturdy. I mean, I don't think I'm going to be putting like, I don't know how you could get something heavy enough that would really like damage this, but the less rigid it is, the more doing it's going to take to get this on because the sides kind of come in slightly. So, and at the store, they are not stored with the lids on them. That actually makes a difference because as you store them with the lids on them, it's going to be easier to take the lid off and on because it's going to be stored in a way that fits the lid. At the store, you're going to have to make sure you pick up the lid separately. And I think that's just because in shipping, they nest inside of each other. So it's just easier for them to stock and easier for them to ship rather than shipping them like this. And also, if you had extras and you were storing them, you probably store them with the lids off. I will say, however, as with many bins, this is a huge plus, is there is a nice groove in here. So when I stack something on it, it's not going anywhere. It's going to stay stacked very nicely. So they get bonus points for ideal stacking, but a little points off for like, you can see how I'm really struggling a little bit with this one to fit it in. Now, again, I think as I let it sit there in there, it's going to be a lot easier to get the bin on, but I like to give you guys like the full story just so you know what you're dealing with. All right, I got that one on, and then you can see how I can go like this and they're not sliding. So if I'm pulling these down, it's very helpful that that groove is pretty deep and they're not going to slide around, and they're also going to look neat, because if you were just setting them on a flat thing, they would end up getting kind of askew like this and they're not going to keep up that neat look. So overall, I mean, I give these an A+. I think my favorite place to use these would be like I do in the shelves back here in an office type of setting. I probably wouldn't use these in like a pantry, a kitchen. We have lots of others that I think are a little bit better for that use. All right, y'all, I cannot tell you how excited I am about this find. I mean, it was about time somebody did this, but these are like a perfect, and dare I say, possibly even slightly better dupe for my all-time favorite organizing bin, which is the multi-purpose bin from the Container Store. We now have a beautiful dupe from Target. So let's dive in and talk about it. So here are the bins that I found at Target. And again, I will link to, I have an entire video about the multi-purpose bin and I think 52 ways that you can use it. I'll link to that down below. And basically any of the ways that I share there that you could use it, you could use these bins for. So what do I love about them? First of all, the multi-purpose, like this style is just so versatile to be used anywhere. Office, bedrooms, closets, pantries, car, garage, like there is nowhere that it can't be used, which makes it incredibly versatile. And if I had to start over again, I might think about using these instead of the ones from the Container Store. And usually when you use them, you'll have them kind of side by side like this. They come in 4 sizes. And again, they're the same is true at the Container Store. So they come in the small. So this is a pretty skinny bin. They call this one the medium. Like I said, medium size. And then this is called the large. So it's a little bit bigger. And then this is the extra large. And just like at the Container Store, what's unique about the extra large is, I'm going to line them up so you can see this. The extra large one is, not only is it significantly wider, but it's also deeper this direction. And that is, I think they do that so that you could actually put hanging files on this one. So this one actually has more depth, and that's exactly like the Container Store version is as well. The thing that I like about these is I like this type of plastic. It's got like something here at the bottom that's a little cloudy, and then it's perfectly clear. And the Container Store version has vents right here, whereas with these, it's completely smooth right here. And I don't know why the Container Store version has vents. Like it's open topped. It doesn't really need to be vented, but it does have it. So this would be way easier to label. You could easily put a sticker label on. Any kind of label you want will go on here a lot easier than the multi-purpose bins. So I love that about these. In addition, and I would call this a neutral, I think, is that on the Container Store, they both sides have this little notch like this. And on this one, it's only on one side. So this comes up all the way. I call that a neutral. They also both have handles. So this is like perfect for like kid stuff. Like I have their Magnetiles in one. I have blocks in another. I have all of the coloring in one. And it's very easy to just grab off the shelf, both handles, and then put it up on the table. So these are just the most amazing, versatile bins really ever. Now, let's talk about where it gets really interesting. And that is the pricing. All right, so this small bin, when I went to Target, it was, and I have a little cheat sheet here, it was $5, but at the Container Store, it's $6. So now you're thinking, oh, they're more expensive at the Container Store. Well, let's keep going. The medium bin is $7 in both places. By the way, I'm rounding up by 1 penny from the Container Store for our purposes. So $7. All right, now for this large size, it is $8 at the Container Store and $10 on Target. So this one is $1 less at Target, and this one is $2 more at Target. Then we get to the extra large bin. This one is $9 at the Container Store and $12 at Target. So this one is $3 more at Target. So the pricing on these is just kind of all over the place. I wouldn't try to mix and match because the look is going to be kind of different. So I would probably want to pick one brand and stick to it. And because the pricing is similar, but one size is higher and one is lower, I think it's going to kind of come out the same in the end, depending on what size you need the most of. I will also point out that both the Container Store and Target has sales. So that is something to watch out for. I haven't seen them go much more than like 25% off at the Container Store, and I would say the similar at Target. You probably aren't going to get them much more than that, but it is something to watch out for. Target also has their red card. You can do debit or credit that gives you 5% off of everything. So that's something to note as well. But the Container Store, if you sign up for their perks, they do give you a % off your total purchase. I'm wanting to say it's like 15%, might be 20 off your total purchase. So if you went in your birthday month and you bought a bunch of these, you could get that amount off your total. Now, if you're going to the Container Store, here's what I want you to do. If you're going in person, order ahead of time because they're not always completely stocked. But if you order, you can get them. And also both stores, very easy to order online. So if you don't have one of these stores near you, go ahead and order online. They both offer usually free shipping at a certain threshold. So not too hard to get your hands on these if you're within the US. If you aren't within the US, leave me comments. Let me know, what do you find? Can you order from Target? Can you order from the Container Store? What have you found? Because I know I have a lot of international viewers who can't necessarily access the things in the United States quite as easily. The other newer bin that I picked up at Target that I really love, and I don't even really, they call these stackable bins or stackable trays, so we'll go with that. I don't really know what to call them. I wouldn't say that these are a completely direct dupe for anything else that I already have. The closest dupe I would say is the M Design clear acrylic bins that I have in my cabinet that I love. This could be a decent-ish dupe for that, but again, they're not really a one-for-one dupe. But these are, I think, really nice, really versatile, fairly affordable. I did not pick up any acrylic of these, but I would like to note that they come in this kind of clear, cloudy plastic, so you can kind of see through it, but not completely. They are also available in a black cloudy plastic like this, so if you wanted like that darker look, you could do that. And they come in clear acrylic, but the clear acrylic is $1 more. Like many of the things at Target, that acrylic you're gonna pay just a touch more for. And this is my favorite of the bins. And the reason this is my favorite, and we'll show you these in action, is that it fits ideally in an upper cabinet. So you could organize tons of things. And I also like the height. So in many upper cabinets, it's gonna cover most of the shelf. So it's gonna look really, really uniform when you have a whole bunch of these side by side in your cabinet. There's also a great place for labeling. All different types of labels could easily fit right here. I would recommend labeling because you're not gonna be able to see through this extremely well. So that's just a great fit. In addition to that, they're nicely stackable. So we have this size, and then you can put the stackable tray on top. Now I'm imagining this like under a bathroom sink or even a kitchen sink where you can stack and kind of use that height. I wouldn't put something in the bottom one that I need to access all the time. But like, for example, if I had like dishwasher pod refills that I'm gonna access once every 3 months, I would totally put them in here. I wouldn't find it too difficult to take that off the top. And then they have this size as well. And of course, I love modular and stackable things. So you can stack this right on top of here, and it will fit 2 of them side by side perfectly. So you can really maximize your space with these. We love how stackable they are. You could also, if you wanted to, stack these smaller ones directly on there if you had something smaller you were organizing. And then they also have this slightly larger size. And what I like about it is that I could turn it this way in a cabinet if I needed to store something larger, and it's the exact same depth as this, the exact same height and depth. So it's very modular in that way, and they'll look really nice side by side. You can also do this to stack them, or this. Now it's a little tricky, but you can get it in there like that. So you can see how versatile and stackable it is. Again, I wouldn't want to do a ton of stacking if it was something that I used on the daily. I just think that that could get a little bit annoying. But if you had something in here that's like refills that you access quarterly, and then something in here in the top ones that you access regularly, I think that could be fairly easy to do. If you like this video, you're gonna love my video on the 52 ways that you can use the multi-purpose bins from the Container Store or the bins from Target. So go ahead and check that one out next.